I sat on the dock of my newly purchased lake house, watching the sunset paint the water gold while my phone buzzed nonstop with furious calls from my family. 28 years of forgotten birthdays, while they celebrated my brother Jake with elaborate parties, expensive gifts, and endless attention had led to this moment. My Instagram post showing the stunning property with one simple caption had sent them into a frenzy: birthday gift. To myself, the betrayal they felt was nothing compared to decades of being invisible on my special day while Jake received everything. Growing up, I learned to expect disappointment every September 15th. My earliest memory of birthday neglect was turning 7, watching through our kitchen window as the neighbors threw their daughter a princess party complete with a bounce house and pink decorations. I had asked my mother that morning if we could have cake, and she looked genuinely confused before saying, "Oh, honey, we forgot again. Next year will be different." But next year was never different. Every year brought the same cycle of hope and crushing disappointment. I would spend weeks dropping hints, circling the date on the family calendar, even leaving birthday party invitations from school friends on the counter where my parents would surely see them. Nothing worked. Meanwhile, Jake's birthday celebrations became increasingly elaborate each year. Born just 11 months before me in October, he received themed parties that my parents planned months in advance. I remember his 8th birthday featuring a professional magician, a chocolate fountain, and 43 children from his class. The photographer my mother hired took hundreds of pictures that she still displays proudly throughout our house. When Jake turned 10, they rented the entire community center and hired a DJ. His 13th birthday was a paintball party at an expensive facility 2 hours away. Sweet 16 included a surprise car reveal in our driveway, complete with a giant red bow and extended family gathered for the moment. His 18th featured a catered dinner for 60 people at our local country club. Each of Jake's celebrations cost thousands of dollars. The gifts piled up like mountains: gaming systems, sports equipment, electronics, clothes, cash. Extended family members flew in from 3 states to attend his milestone birthdays. Our aunts and uncles, grandparents, family friends, and neighbors all knew when Jake's birthday was coming because my parents spent weeks coordinating the perfect celebration. For my birthdays, I got a hastily purchased card from the grocery store and maybe a $20 gift certificate to Target, if I was lucky. More often, my parents would realize 2 days later that they had missed my birthday entirely. Their excuses became predictable. "We thought it was next week. Your brother's birthday is just easier to remember. You know how busy we get in September." By age 15, I stopped hoping and started making my own small celebrations. I would buy myself a cupcake from the bakery downtown and light a single candle in my bedroom. Sometimes I would treat myself to a movie or a new book. The loneliness of celebrating alone was crushing, but it felt better than waiting for acknowledgement that never came. I threw myself into academics and extracurricular activities, partly to distract from the pain and partly because achievement felt like the only way to earn my parents' attention. I graduated valedictorian, earned a full scholarship to Northwestern University, and landed a marketing position at a prestigious Chicago firm immediately after graduation. Yet even my professional successes were met with lukewarm responses from my family. Now, at 28, I lived independently in Chicago, earned a comfortable salary, and had recently received a substantial promotion with a bonus that changed my financial situation dramatically. I had been in therapy for 6 months, working through the complex emotions surrounding my family dynamics with Dr. Martinez, who helped me understand that my childhood experiences constituted a form of emotional neglect. My boyfriend Marcus, whom I had been dating for 8 months, knew I had family issues but did not understand the depth of the dysfunction. I had never fully explained the birthday situation because speaking about it out loud made me feel pathetic and small. How do you tell someone that your own family consistently forgets the day you were born while throwing lavish celebrations for your sibling? This year felt different somehow. Turning 28 felt like a milestone, and I found myself hoping against all logic that my family might finally acknowledge my birthday properly. I had even secretly started planning to attend Jake's upcoming 30th birthday party, which my parents were organizing as their most elaborate celebration yet. I had already purchased an expensive watch for him, despite needing the money for my own goals. The brutal reality hit me like a physical blow when I checked my bank account online and noticed an error notice mailed to my old address. According to the letter, There had been unauthorized activity on an education savings account I did not know existed. A college fund set up in my name years earlier had been completely emptied, and the bank was notifying me as the account beneficiary. $18,000 that had been designated for my graduate school education was gone. September 15th arrived with the usual silence from my family. I woke up in my Chicago apartment to birthday messages from coworkers, college friends, and even acquaintances who had remembered my special day through social media reminders. The contrast between their thoughtfulness and my family's complete radio silence felt more painful than ever. At work, my team surprised me with a decorated conference room, homemade cake, and thoughtful gifts. Sarah from accounting had remembered that I loved mystery novels and brought me the latest bestseller. Tom from sales organized a group lunch at my favorite restaurant. The warmth and consideration from people who had known me for less than 3 years highlighted the stark absence of acknowledgement from people who had known me for nearly 3 decades. Throughout the day, I found myself checking my phone obsessively, hoping for a text, call, or even a brief social media message from my parents or Jake. Nothing came. The silence grew heavier as afternoon turned to evening. Marcus planned a surprise dinner at an upscale restaurant downtown, complete with champagne and a beautiful necklace he had carefully selected. His confusion about my family's absence was evident but polite. "Are your parents coming later?" he asked gently. I made vague excuses about them being busy, too embarrassed to admit the truth. Meanwhile, my phone buzzed constantly with family activity that had nothing to do with me. Group text messages flew between my mother, father, Jake, and various relatives about decorations for Jake's upcoming 30th birthday party. My mother posted Instagram stories showing elaborate centerpiece options and menu tastings at the country club. Jake shared excited posts about his milestone celebration that was still 6 weeks away. The irony was devastating. They were all together, actively planning and coordinating, completely consumed with celebrating Jake while remaining utterly oblivious to my existence on my actual birthday. The next morning, I decided to investigate the bank notice that had been weighing on my mind. I took an early lunch break and drove to the branch where the account had been held. The customer service representative, a kind woman named Janet, pulled up the account details, and her expression shifted to concern. "Miss Patterson, this education savings account was established when you were 16 years old by your parents. The initial deposit was $5,000, and over 12 years, with compound interest and additional contributions, it grew to $18,437. My heart pounded as she continued. "The account was completely liquidated 3 weeks ago. Your mother and a young man who identified himself as your brother came in together with proper identification and withdrew the entire balance." The room spun around me. What was the stated purpose for the withdrawal? Janet checked her notes. The paperwork indicates the funds were needed for a family celebration expense. A deposit for an event venue was mentioned. I felt physically sick. They had stolen my college fund to pay for Jake's birthday party. "Miss Patterson, I should mention that we have security camera footage of all transactions if you need to review the withdrawal for any reason. There also seems to be some confusion in our records because this account was specifically designated for your educational expenses." I requested to see the footage, and watching my mother and Jake cheerfully completing paperwork to steal my money was one of the most heartbreaking moments of my life. They looked happy, excited even, as they walked away with a cashier's check for my future. That evening, I discovered an even more devastating truth through social media. While scrolling through Facebook, I found comments on family photos from recent gatherings where my absence was notable. Extended relatives were asking where I was, and my mother was responding with lies. Dianne chose not to come. She's been difficult lately and didn't want to celebrate with the family. Another response read, "She's going through a phase where she thinks she's too good for family events. We're hoping she grows out of it soon." My cousin Emma had even asked specifically about my birthday in a comment from 2 days ago. "Did Dianne have a nice birthday this year?" My mother's response was a knife through my heart. She preferred to celebrate alone this year. You know how independent she is. They were not just ignoring my birthday. They were actively lying about me to extended family members and painting me as the problem. According to their version of reality, I was the difficult, antisocial family member who chose isolation over inclusion. The truth was that I had never been included in the first place. That weekend, I found myself browsing real estate websites during what should have been relaxing downtime. Something about owning my own space, creating my own sanctuary, felt like the antidote to the powerlessness I felt within my family dynamics. I had been saving money aggressively since my promotion, and with the substantial bonus I had received, homeownership was actually within reach. I discovered a charming lake house in Wisconsin, about 3 hours from Chicago. The listing photos showed a cozy two-bedroom cottage with exposed wooden beams, a stone fireplace, and a private dock extending into crystal, clear water. The property included 2 acres of wooded land and complete privacy from neighbors. More importantly, it was exactly within my budget range. The symbolism was not lost on me. For 28 years, my family had given me nothing meaningful for my birthday. This year, I would give myself something that would appreciate and value, provide lifelong enjoyment, and represent my independence and success. I called the listing agent, Sarah Chen, that same afternoon. Her enthusiasm was infectious as she described the property's features. The original hardwood floors throughout, the renovated kitchen with modern appliances, the master bedroom with lake views, and the outdoor fire pit perfect for evening relaxation. Most buyers who look at this property are couples or families. Sarah mentioned during our phone conversation. "Are you purchasing with a partner?" "No, just me," I replied, feeling a surge of pride in my independence. That's wonderful. There's something so empowering about a woman buying her first home on her own terms. We scheduled a viewing for the following Saturday. The drive to Wisconsin gave me time to think about what this purchase would represent. This was not just a house. It was a statement about my worth and my commitment to creating joy in my own life instead of waiting for others to provide it. The moment I stepped onto the property, I knew I was home. The lake stretched out like a mirror, reflecting the autumn colors of the surrounding trees. The house felt warm and welcoming, with large windows that filled every room with natural light. Standing on the dock, I could imagine peaceful mornings with coffee and books, weekend gatherings with friends who actually valued my company, and quiet evenings processing the day's events in complete serenity. Sarah noticed my immediate connection to the place. "You have that look," she said with a smile. "This is the one, isn't it?" The purchasing process moved quickly. My credit score was excellent, my down payment was substantial, and my employment verification was flawless. The inspection revealed only minor issues that the sellers agreed to address. Within 3 weeks, I was signing closing papers on my very own lake house. The day I received the keys happened to be exactly 1 month after my forgotten birthday. I drove to Wisconsin alone, stopped at a local grocery store for champagne and fresh flowers, and spent my first evening as a homeowner sitting on my dock watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. Over the following weeks, I took vacation days to furnish and personalize my sanctuary. Every purchase was deliberate and meaningful. I chose a comfortable sectional sofa in soft gray for the living room, positioned perfectly to face both the fireplace and the lake view through the large windows. I installed floating shelves for my growing book collection and hung artwork that brought me joy. The master bedroom became my retreat, with luxurious bedding in calming blues and whites that echoed the lake's colors. I created a reading nook by the window with a plush armchair and soft throw blankets. In the kitchen, I stocked quality cookware and began experimenting with recipes I had always wanted to try. The outdoor spaces became equally important. I hung a hammock between 2 ancient oak trees and strung fairy lights around the deck for evening ambiance. The fire pit became my favorite spot for reflection and planning my future goals. As the house transformed into my personal haven, I felt a profound shift in my sense of self-worth. This was mine. I had earned it through hard work and determination. No one could take it away or diminish its value through neglect or manipulation. The moment came on a crisp October afternoon when I decided to share my achievement with the world. I had taken several beautiful photos of the property during golden hour, when the light made everything look magical. The house appeared warm and inviting, the lake sparkled like diamonds, and I looked genuinely happy standing on my dock. I chose the most stunning photo and crafted a simple caption, "Birthday gift." To myself. Before posting, I sat in my car for 10 minutes, knowing that this single action would change everything. My family would see this post and realize that while they were stealing my college fund and lying about my absence from their lives, I was quietly building a beautiful, successful life without them. I hit share and immediately felt a mixture of terror and liberation. Within minutes, the likes and supportive comments began pouring in. But I knew the real reaction would come from the people who had spent decades taking me for granted. The response to my post was immediate and overwhelming. Within the first hour, I received over 200 likes and dozens of comments from friends, coworkers, college acquaintances, and even distant relatives I had not spoken to in years. The messages were universally supportive and celebratory. "Dianne, this is absolutely gorgeous. You deserve every bit of happiness. Wow, you bought this yourself? That's incredible. Happy birthday, beautiful. I had no idea it was your birthday. Your family must be so proud of your success." Old college friends reached out through direct messages, expressing shock that they had never known about my family situation. "We always wondered why you never talked about home or had family visit during school," wrote my former roommate, Jessica. "Now it makes sense. I'm so proud of you for creating your own happiness." The contrast between this outpouring of genuine support and my family's continued silence was stark. For 3 hours, my phone buzzed constantly with positive reinforcement from my chosen community while my biological family remained completely quiet. Then the explosion began. My mother called first, her voice shaking with rage. "Dianne Marie Patterson, what in God's name do you think you're doing? Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is for our family?" "Hello, Mom. It's nice to hear from you. How are you enjoying your first conversation with me since before my birthday? Don't get smart with me, young lady. You've humiliated us in front of the entire community. Everyone is asking questions about why you would post something like this instead of celebrating with your family like a normal person. Maybe because my family forgot my birthday existed, just like they have for the past 28 years. That's completely unfair and you know it. We've always celebrated your birthday. You're being overly dramatic and attention-seeking." The gaslighting was swift and familiar, but this time I was prepared for it. "Mom, when was my last birthday party? Name one gift you've given me in the past 5 years. Tell me about the last time you posted about my birthday on social media." The silence stretched uncomfortably long before she deflected. "This isn't about birthdays, Dianne. This is about you publicly embarrassing your family and making us look like terrible parents." Jake's texts started arriving before my mother hung up. "Are you seriously trying to ruin my birthday party with your drama? Everyone's talking about your stupid post instead of celebrating with me. Take it down right now. Happy birthday to you too, Jake. Oh wait, your birthday isn't for another 5 weeks. Unlike mine, which was last month and you completely ignored. Nobody cares about your birthday, Dianne. You're 28 years old. Grow up and stop acting like a spoiled brat." "You're absolutely right. I did grow up. That's why I bought myself a house instead of waiting for family members who don't value me to give me anything meaningful." My father's voicemail was disappointed rather than angry, which somehow felt worse. "Dianne, I'm very concerned about your recent behavior. This public display of wealth and independence is not how we raised you. Your mother and I are worried about your mental health and think you should consider counseling. Please call me back so we can discuss this privately instead of airing our family business online." The manipulation was sophisticated and multi-layered. They were attempting to shame me for success, pathologize my independence, and control the narrative by insisting that any discussion of their behavior should happen privately, where they could continue gaslighting without witnesses. But something remarkable was happening in the comments section of my post. Extended family members and longtime family friends were sharing their own observations that supported my experience rather than my parents' version of reality. My great-aunt Dorothy, my father's sister, commented, "Dianne, honey, I've been asking about you at family gatherings for years. I'm so proud of your success and independence. Happy belated birthday, sweetheart. You deserve all the happiness in the world." Mrs. Henderson, our longtime neighbor, added, "I remember watching you celebrate alone on your birthdays as a child. It broke my heart then and it breaks my heart now. You've grown into an amazing young woman despite everything. Congratulations on your beautiful home." Even Jake's high school girlfriend, Amanda, who had witnessed years of family dynamics firsthand, wrote, "Dianne, I always admired how kind and strong you were even when things were unfair at home. You deserve to celebrate yourself. This house is absolutely stunning." The public support created a problem for my parents' narrative. They could not claim that I was being dramatic or oversensitive when multiple witnesses were corroborating my experience and expressing their own concerns about how I had been treated. My aunts and uncles from my mother's side began weighing in with criticism rather than support. Aunt Linda called to lecture me about respecting my parents and keeping family matters private. Uncle Robert sent a long email about how social media was destroying family values, and young people had no respect for their elders. Marcus, who had been watching this unfold with growing understanding and concern, finally learned the complete truth about my family situation. His response was immediate and protective. "Dianne, I had no idea it was this bad. Why didn't you tell me how they've been treating you all these years?" "Because I was ashamed," I admitted. "How do you tell someone that your own family considers you so worthless that they consistently forget the day you were born?" "That's not your shame to carry," he said firmly. "That's their failure, not yours." The most unexpected response came from my cousin Rachel, Jake's age and someone I had always assumed was firmly on my brother's side due to their close relationship. She called me directly instead of commenting publicly. "Dianne, I need to tell you something that I should have said years ago. I've been watching our family treat you terribly for as long as I can remember, and I've been keeping records because I planned to speak up but never found the courage. I have screenshots, voicemails, and photos that prove everything you're saying is true. If you need support, I have documentation." This revelation was staggering. Rachel had been quietly witnessing and recording the dysfunction, waiting for the right moment to intervene. Her evidence could corroborate everything I had experienced and expose the lies my parents had been telling about me to extended family. "Rachel, why didn't you ever say anything before?" "Because I was a coward," she admitted honestly. "Uncle David and Aunt Karen are intimidating, and Jake always seemed so confident that he deserved special treatment. But watching them lie about you and steal your college fund was the last straw. I can't stay silent anymore." As the evening progressed, the battle lines became clear. My parents, Jake, and his closest supporters were demanding that I remove the post and apologize for embarrassing the family. Meanwhile, a growing coalition of extended family members, family friends, neighbors, and my personal community were rallying around me with support and validation. The war had begun, but for the first time in my life, I was not fighting alone. Sunday dinner at my childhood home had always been a family tradition, but this week it felt more like a tribunal. My parents had demanded my attendance to resolve this situation, and the tension was palpable from the moment I walked through the front door. The usual crowd was assembled. My parents, Jake, and several extended family members who had apparently been summoned to apply pressure and restore family unity. Aunt Linda and Uncle Robert sat stiffly on the living room sofa, while my maternal grandmother, Nana Rose, looked confused and uncomfortable in her usual corner chair. Jake greeted me with barely concealed hostility. "Finally decided to show up instead of hiding behind your Instagram post." "I'm not hiding from anything, Jake. I'm here to have an honest conversation about our family dynamics." My father attempted to control the narrative from the beginning. "Dianne, we're all here because we love you and we're concerned about this public outburst. We think the best solution is for you to remove the post and issue an apology to the family for causing unnecessary drama during an already stressful time with Jake's birthday planning." I had prepared for this moment during the 3-hour drive from Chicago. Dr. Martinez had helped me practice staying calm and focused on facts rather than emotions. I pulled out a folder of documents I had carefully organized. "Dad, I appreciate that everyone is concerned, but before we talk about apologies, I think we should address some factual inconsistencies in how our family operates." I spread the bank statements across the coffee table, showing the college fund that had been emptied to pay for Jake's party. "Let's start with this. Mom and Jake, would you like to explain why you withdrew $18,000 from an education account that was specifically set up for my future graduate school expenses?" The room fell silent. Nana Rose leaned forward to examine the documents, her expression shifting from confusion to shock. "David, what is this about? You told me Dianne was being ungrateful about her education funding." My mother's face flushed red, but she attempted to deflect. "That money was sitting there unused, and we had an opportunity to create a meaningful celebration for Jake's milestone birthday. We planned to pay it back after the party." "Without asking me? Without even telling me the account existed? You stole my college fund to pay for a party that costs more than most people's annual salaries." Jake's entitlement was breathtaking. It's not stealing when it's family money. Besides, you have a good job now. You don't need college fund money anymore. I deserve a proper celebration for turning 30. Jake, listen to yourself. You literally just said you deserve to take money that was designated for my education because you want a fancy party. Aunt Linda tried to support my parents. Dianne, your tone is very disrespectful. Your parents have supported you your entire life, and you should trust their judgment about family finances. Aunt Linda, can you tell me about the last birthday celebration our family threw for me? Can you remember a single gift, party, or acknowledgement of my birthday in the past decade? She looked uncomfortable and unable to answer. I continued presenting evidence. I have photos from Jake's birthday celebrations over the years. Professional photographers, elaborate themes, hundreds of guests, thousands of dollars in expenses. I also have photos of my birthday celebrations. I showed pictures of myself alone with bought cupcakes. This is what my birthdays have looked like for 28 years. The contrast was devastating and undeniable. Even the relatives who had come to support my parents looked uncomfortable as they realized the extent of the disparity. My father tried a different approach. Dianne, we've always treated you and Jake equally. If you felt overlooked sometimes, that was never our intention. But publicly embarrassing the family is not the appropriate way to address these concerns. Dad, there's nothing equal about forgetting my birthday exists while planning elaborate celebrations for Jake. There's nothing equal about stealing my college fund to pay for his party. There's nothing equal about lying to extended family about why I'm absent from events I was never invited to attend. That's when Rachel arrived. She had been listening outside the front door and chose her moment perfectly. I'm sorry I'm late, but I heard Uncle David say that Dianne and Jake have always been treated equally, and I have to respectfully disagree with that statement. Rachel entered carrying a thick folder and her laptop. I've been documenting this family's treatment of Dianne for the past 10 years because I plan to eventually speak up, and now seems like the perfect time. She opened her laptop and began sharing evidence that was far more comprehensive than anything I had gathered. Voicemails from my parents asking relatives not to ask about me at family gatherings. Text message screenshots showing coordination to exclude me from events. Photos from family celebrations where my absence was notable and deliberate. Here is a voicemail from Aunt Karen to my mother from last Christmas. Tell everyone that Dianne chose not to come because she's going through an antisocial phase. We don't want people asking uncomfortable questions about why she wasn't included in the holiday planning. The room erupted. Nana Rose was furious. Karen, you told me that Dianne was too busy with work to join family celebrations. You've been lying to me about my own granddaughter for years. My mother's breakdown was swift and dramatic. We thought Jake needed more support because he struggled in school. Dianne was always so independent and successful that we figured she didn't need as much attention. We were trying to balance things out by completely ignoring one child and spoiling the other. Nana Rose was incredulous. My father's admission was even more revealing. Honestly, we resented how easily everything came to Dianne. School, work, relationships, everything was effortless for her. Jake needed more help and encouragement to succeed. So you punished me for being successful by withholding love, attention, and celebration. Jake's tantrum was spectacular. I do deserve special treatment. I'm the son. I carry on the family name. Dianne will just get married and belong to some other family anyway. The mask was completely off. His entitlement and sexism were now visible to everyone in the room, including the relatives who had come to support him. Uncle Robert, who had initially criticized my social media post, was staring at Jake with disgust. Son, that's not how family works. Gender doesn't determine worth or love. The most stunning revelation came when my grandmother, Patricia, my father's mother, appeared at the front door unannounced. She had been listening to the arguments from the porch and decided to make her entrance. I've heard quite enough, she announced, walking into the living room with the authority that came from being the family matriarch. David, I am absolutely disgusted by what I've learned about how you and Karen have treated Dianne. She turned to me with tears in her eyes. Sweetheart, I've been sending you birthday cards and Christmas gifts for years, and when you never acknowledged them, I thought you didn't want a relationship with me. Your parents told me you were too busy and independent to care about grandparent relationships. Grandma Pat, I never received any cards or gifts from you. I would have treasured them. Karen, where are the gifts I've been sending? Patricia's voice was ice cold. My mother looked like she wanted to disappear into the furniture. We thought it was better not to overwhelm Dianne with too much attention when she was already so busy with school and work. You stole gifts from your own daughter? You prevented her from having a relationship with her grandmother. Patricia was livid. She reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. I'm calling my attorney tomorrow morning. I've been planning to leave Dianne money in my will, but am giving it to her now. Every penny I intended to leave your family is going to Dianne and Rachel, the only grandchildren who deserve it. The power dynamics in the room shifted dramatically. My parents had been financially dependent on eventually inheriting from Patricia, and she had just cut them off entirely while rewarding the granddaughters they had neglected and mistreated. The intervention they had planned to pressure me into submission had backfired spectacularly, exposing their lies and manipulation to the very family members whose approval they valued most. The fallout from Sunday dinner was swift and devastating for my parents. By Monday morning, half the extended family was calling to express support for me and disgust with how I had been treated. The other half was demanding explanations for years of lies about my absence from family events. My phone rang constantly with relatives I had not spoken to in years. Great, Uncle Frank, my grandfather's brother, called to tell me he had always wondered why I never responded to his graduation cards and Christmas checks. Cousin Beth, Rachel's sister, admitted she had been told I was too good for family gatherings and felt hurt that I seemed to want nothing to do with the family. Each conversation revealed another layer of deception my parents had maintained to cover up their neglect and abuse. They had systematically isolated me from extended family while portraying me as the antisocial, ungrateful daughter who chose distance over family connection. I spent my lunch break that Monday calling relatives back and having honest conversations about what my childhood and young adulthood had actually been like. The response was universally supportive and often tearful. "We would have included you if we had known," was a common refrain. Your parents made it seem like you didn't want family relationships. Meanwhile, my parents were facing questions they could not answer convincingly. Why had they emptied my college fund without permission? Why had they lied about my whereabouts at family events? Why had they intercepted gifts and cards from relatives who wanted relationships with me? Why was there such an obvious disparity in how they celebrated their children? Marcus had become fiercely protective after learning the full extent of my family's dysfunction. "I can't believe you've been carrying this pain alone for so long," he told me over dinner Monday night. "You should have told me how bad it was." I was ashamed. I admitted. "It's humiliating to admit that your own family considers you worthless. Their treatment of you says everything about them and nothing about you," he said firmly. "You're the most caring, successful, independent person I know. Their inability to appreciate you is their loss." My therapist, Dr. Martinez, was proud of how I had handled the confrontation while remaining grounded in facts rather than emotions. "You've broken a generational pattern of dysfunction," she told me during our session Tuesday. "That takes incredible courage and strength." The most unexpected development was my brother's girlfriend, Sarah, reaching out privately. She had witnessed Jake's tantrum at Sunday dinner and was horrified by his behavior and attitude. "Dianne, I need you to know that I've been noticing the family dynamics for months, and I think the way you're treated is terrible. Jake talks about you like you're this selfish, difficult person, but every interaction I've witnessed shows the complete opposite. You're kind, successful, and generous, and your family takes advantage of that. Sarah, I appreciate you saying that, but I don't want to create problems in your relationship. You're not creating problems. Jake's character is creating problems. The way he talked about deserving your college fund money and calling you worthless for having a birthday was disgusting. I've been reconsidering our relationship anyway, and Sunday was the final straw." By Wednesday, Jake's elaborate birthday party was falling apart. Several family members had canceled their attendance in solidarity with me. Others were asking uncomfortable questions about the party being funded with stolen money. The country club had been contacted by grandmother Patricia's attorney and was requiring immediate payment of the full balance rather than accepting the payment plan my parents had arranged. Jake was furious and taking his anger out on everyone around him. He screamed at my parents for not controlling Dianne, blamed Sarah for turning against him, and demanded that extended family members choose between supporting him or supporting me. His ultimatum backfired spectacularly. Rather than rallying to his defense, Family members were put off by his entitled attitude and began re-evaluating years of enabling his behavior. Uncle Robert, who had initially criticized my social media post, called to apologize. Dianne, I owe you a sincere apology. I thought you were being disrespectful to your parents, but after seeing Jake's behavior and learning about the financial theft, I realize you've been protecting yourself from abuse. Your strength and independence are admirable, not shameful. The professional consequences for my parents were also significant. My father worked in a small-town insurance office where family reputation mattered, and word had spread through their community about the college fund theft and birthday neglect. My mother was involved in several volunteer organizations that were asking questions about her fitness for leadership roles. Most importantly, I was discovering my own strength and worth in a way I had never experienced before. For 28 years, I had internalized the message that I was less valuable than Jake, less deserving of attention and celebration, less worthy of love and support. The overwhelming response from extended family, friends, and my community was showing me that this message had been a lie designed to maintain a dysfunctional family system that benefited everyone except me. I spent Wednesday evening at my lake house, sitting on the dock with a glass of wine and watching the sunset reflect off the water. For the first time in my adult life, I felt completely at peace with who I was and the choices I was making. My phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. Jake's party is imploding. Half the guest list has canceled. The country club is demanding immediate payment. And Sarah broke up with him after he called you a selfish bitch for ruining his celebration. Karma is beautiful. I smiled and set my phone aside. I was not celebrating Jake's misfortune, but I was celebrating my own liberation from a family system that had never valued my existence. Whether they chose to change and rebuild our relationships on healthier terms was entirely up to them. I was no longer willing to sacrifice my peace and self-worth for their approval. The lake was perfectly still, mirroring the calm I finally felt in my heart. 6 months later, I woke up in my lake house on September 15th to the most beautiful birthday morning I had ever experienced. Sunlight streamed through my bedroom windows, birds were singing outside, and my phone was already buzzing with birthday messages from people who genuinely cared about me. Marcus had driven up the night before and was making coffee in the kitchen, humming contentedly. Rachel was arriving later with homemade cake and decorations for the celebration we had planned together. Grandmother Patricia was coming with photo albums she had been saving for me, full of pictures and memories my parents had prevented me from receiving. The months following the family confrontation had been transformative in ways I could never have imagined. Jake's 30th birthday party had become a legendary disaster that people still talked about in our hometown. Only 12 people attended out of the 60 who had initially RSVP'd. The country club required immediate payment of the $8,000 balance, which my parents could not afford without the inheritance they were no longer receiving from grandmother Patricia. Jake had a public meltdown at the party when he realized how many people had chosen not to attend in solidarity with me. His entitled tantrum was witnessed by the few remaining guests, including several family friends who recorded portions of it on their phones. The video circulated through our extended family and town community, finally revealing Jake's true character to people who had previously seen only his charming facade. Sarah's breakup with Jake had been swift and permanent. She later told me that watching him call me worthless for having a birthday was the moment she realized she could never marry someone with such a fundamentally selfish and cruel worldview. She had started dating someone new, a teacher who treated her with consistent kindness and respect. The most significant changes happened within my immediate family relationships, though not in the ways I had initially expected. My parents' journey toward accountability was slow and often painful, but they eventually committed to family therapy sessions that forced them to confront the damage their favoritism and neglect had caused. My mother's breakthrough came during a particularly difficult session when the therapist asked her to explain why she had intercepted gifts and cards from relatives who wanted relationships with me. Her tearful admission was that she had been jealous of my academic and professional success and had wanted to prevent me from having support systems that might make me feel superior to the family. I was afraid that if you had relationships with extended family who appreciated your achievements, you would realize how poorly we were treating you and leave us entirely, she confessed. I know that sounds terrible, but I was insecure about my own parenting and achievements. My father's reckoning was even more profound. He admitted that he had resented my success because it highlighted his own failures and limitations. Watching you excel at everything effortlessly made me feel inadequate as a father and as a man, he acknowledged. Instead of celebrating your gifts, I punished you for having them. Jake's transformation was the most dramatic and unexpected. The social consequences of his birthday meltdown had been severe enough to force serious self-reflection. He lost several friendships, was passed over for a promotion at work due to concerns about his character, and struggled with dating after word spread about his treatment of his sister. He spent 3 months in individual therapy before requesting a session with me present. His apology was comprehensive and seemed genuine. Dianne, I have to face the truth that I've been a terrible brother and a spoiled, entitled person for my entire life. I was raised to believe I deserved special treatment because I was the son, and I never questioned whether that was fair or right. Jake, I appreciate you saying that. What matters now is whether you're willing to change your behavior going forward. I am, he said earnestly. I want to learn how to be a brother worthy of your respect and friendship. I know that will take time and consistent effort, but am committed to doing the work. The process of rebuilding family relationships was gradual and required establishing clear boundaries. I made it clear that I would not tolerate any future financial manipulation, birthday neglect, or exclusion from family events. More importantly, I would no longer participate in any family dynamic that required me to minimize my achievements or hide my success to make others feel comfortable. My parents agreed to attend ongoing family therapy sessions and committed to acknowledging and celebrating my birthday with the same enthusiasm they had always shown for Jake's. They also returned the $18,000 to my education fund, with interest, by taking out a loan against their home. The extended family relationships that my parents had sabotaged were rebuilt stronger than ever. Grandmother Patricia and I developed a close bond, meeting for lunch every few weeks and talking regularly on the phone. She shared stories about my grandfather and grandparents that helped me understand my family history and my place in the larger lineage. Uncle Robert became an unexpected ally and mentor, offering career advice and treating me with the respect and appreciation that had been missing from my immediate family. Cousin Rachel and I grew closer than ever, supporting each other through the ongoing family healing process and celebrating our shared strength in breaking dysfunctional patterns. Most importantly, I discovered that setting boundaries and demanding respect had not cost me my family relationships, as I had feared. Instead, it had created space for healthier, more authentic connections based on mutual appreciation rather than obligation and guilt. My career continued flourishing as my increased confidence translated into professional growth. I received another promotion and was asked to lead several high-profile projects that expanded my skills and reputation within the company. The peace I felt at my lake house became a source of creativity and energy that enhanced every aspect of my life. Marcus and I had grown closer through navigating the family drama together, and he proposed to me on my lake house dock during a spectacular sunset in June. The ring was beautiful, but more meaningful was his commitment to supporting my independence and celebrating my achievements rather than diminishing them. As I sat on my dock this birthday morning, watching the water reflect the early light and feeling genuinely excited about the day ahead, I reflected on the profound life lesson this journey had taught me. You cannot control how others treat you, but you can absolutely control how you respond to that treatment. For 28 years, I had accepted less than I deserved because I was afraid that demanding respect would cost me the relationships I valued. The truth was that relationships requiring me to minimize myself to make others comfortable were not valuable relationships worth preserving. Self-worth must come from within rather than from external validation, but that does not mean accepting poor treatment from people who claim to love you. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and your family is to refuse to enable destructive patterns that harm everyone involved. Creating your own happiness is not selfish. It is essential for building authentic relationships and living a fulfilling life. When you stop accepting less than you deserve, you teach others how to treat you and create space for people who truly value your presence in their lives. True family supports your growth, celebrates your achievements, and wants you to thrive. If the people in your life cannot offer that basic level of care and respect, it is not your responsibility to shrink yourself to accommodate their limitations. The most powerful gift you can give yourself is the courage to build a life filled with people who see your worth, celebrate your successes, and choose you consistently rather than conditionally. That afternoon, surrounded by people who genuinely loved and appreciated me, blowing out candles on a cake made with care, and opening gifts chosen thoughtfully rather than grudgingly, I finally experienced what birthday celebrations were supposed to feel like. The joy was so pure and overwhelming that I understood why my parents had worked so hard to give Jake this feeling every year. The difference was that I had created this joy for myself by refusing to accept less than I deserved and building relationships based on mutual respect and genuine affection. No one could take this happiness away from me because it was grounded in self-worth rather than external approval. As the sun set over my lake, painting the sky in brilliant colors while my chosen family laughed and celebrated around me, I felt profound gratitude for the courage it had taken to break generational patterns and create the life I truly wanted. The best birthday gift I had ever received was the realization that I was worthy of love, celebration, and respect, and that I had the power to create that reality for myself. Have you ever had to choose between keeping peace in your family and standing up for yourself? How did you find the courage to set boundaries with people you love? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like this video, subscribe for more real life stories about overcoming family challenges, and share this with anyone who might need to hear that they deserve better treatment from the people in their lives. Thank you for listening to my journey. And remember that you have the power to create the relationships and life you truly deserve. Until next time, choose yourself and never settle for being invisible in your own story.